at this point, I want to go into the styling of the forms and the positioning. Yep.
Can you remind me which one, what's the title of the folder that we need to clone to desktop from your GitHub?
Yeah, just to get to the same starting point. The title of the folder that we need to clone in order to get to the same starting point. It's just test.github.io. And then you can just clone it down there. And does everyone have that? We all good? Because at this point, we'll just be following along for a second, so it's okay if you don't have it right now. What I want to talk about is our forms. So we have our nice little friends over here at CSS Tricks, where they give us a nice example form markup here. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab that, and then I'll explain each thing to you. We'll grab that, and I'm going to put this up here in our header section for now, because I'm going to be taking a lot of this away. So it's going to look nice and ugly right now. Actually, that's not smart to do. Let's just do it in its own section. Thank you. Yep, good call. Appreciate that. All right. All right, so we have different types. We have the, let me bring this up so we can look at both at the same time. Yep, good call. So we have the form element right here, which you can give the ID, the action. You'll be going way more into that part of everything I'm assuming in the JavaScript and future weeks. But just the main thing to pay attention here for this is just the form tag itself, that you have a form there. The action and all stuff needs to be present, but we won't go over that with HTML and CSS. It's not relevant. So take that out, and then then you have the way they've styled this is they have a div for each of these things, because label and input are both inline elements, and then the div helps style it. So labels, simple. This will all make sense more when you actually do form stuff, form entries, when you go into JavaScript. But for the main thing I want to do is focus on like styling it. And in the meantime, showing you the different types. So you have an input type text, which is like your short answer text field. You have radio buttons with different choices here, and you have to give them the value of that choice they choose. And like I said, you'll go more in depth into that when you actually do the forms themselves. And then the other one, you have a drop-down box. You know, this is the tag for that, the select tag, with the different options nested inside of it. Then you have a big text area right here, tag with the number of columns and the number of rows. So we could edit that to be like way bigger. So you see how much bigger it is now. Then you also have the checkbox, and you have the input type submit. So the input type submit's always going to, it's going to be present all the time because you always have to submit a form. So, but what we're going to do here in this section of the course is we're going to do what you see common on a lot of sites is, up here at the top, a lot of times when someone comes to your site, you want them to take an action, right? You want them to, you want to retain them in some way, maybe buy something, or you want them maybe to, you see a lot of people collecting emails, right? In a header section of a site, follow my site for updates, and let's get an email. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to do that here, how to style a form for that same type of thing. So in order to get their email address, all we really need is we need this text input. We don't need any radio button choices. We don't need a drop-down menu. We don't need the large text area because we have the small one. And we don't need any checkboxes. So all we need is the text input and the submit. So it's, oh, and of course we need it wrapped in the form tag. All right, so it looks pretty nasty right there. It's just nice, plain, and simple. And what we're going to use is we're going to use this nice Fieldset tag, and it's really just, it's kind of like, how we'd have divs for the groups of block elements, or you use span to style inline elements. The Fieldset tag makes it easy to group related elements in a form so that you can style them together. So what I like to do is just to, we're going to, instead of putting these two together into a div, is we'll just use a Fieldset tag, indent that. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and take this form here, and what we're basically drawing or building here is a nice. What did I just do? Delete all that. That was just for display purposes, showing you guys. But I'm going to put it up here in this header for us that way, because basically it'd be like if someone's coming to your site. And we want, that nice looking, say, I'm trying to think of a site that we can grab, that we can look at. All right, anywhere you log into where they want you to enter, your username, or if they want to get your email address. It's So we're basically setting up an email grabber exactly like this. All right, so if you want to start grabbing email addresses for your site. And this is just, you can use this styling of these forms so that you can then use it for any forms you need to style, because they'll convert over the same. So we have this field set. And we'll just say we want this field set to be, let's say, 300 pixels, and we want it to have margin of 0 auto so that it's in the middle of the page. So we're going to put it right here in the top section, top. All right, let's give it a little pad or margin at the top. Actually, let's go ahead and give it, 10 pixels. That way we get a little margin, 20, like 20. All right. So then we want to give these text elements margin 0. And I want to make it look so that, where did it just go? I want to make it look so it looks like it's nice and easy, a part of the same thing, right? See how it's all attached like this and looks nice and good. So what we want to do is we want to give within Oh, thank you. That's why I can't find it. Within, go ahead and delete that so I don't get confused again. I want to give this input a width of 70%, and let's go ahead and give this submit thing here a width of 30%. Sorry, I'm trying to see why it's still giving that spacing there. Huh. Give me 1 second. I've never seen this before. Todd, have you seen that before? You messed with submit, why there's spacing right here?
Between submit and
The input? Yeah, but if I go up, there's still spacing. All right. Well,
spacing, what is it, around submit by CSS.
why does this keep doing this? Spacing around submit button. Ah, look at that. Yeah, I lost my width, but it was the same thing as with the same thing as with the inline block. So that's kind of weird. What we'll do for the time being, just so we don't get too confused, is I'll just the main thing I want to take away from this is that you can style these forms. So I'm just going to keep it like this, and I'll show you how to. How to style these. So what we want here is we have the width, margin. let's go ahead and change this back as we had it. 20 pixels. And what I want to do here is give it some padding. So we can give, oh, not the, what I want to do here is give this input some padding, make it 15 pixels. We'll say width 70%. And we can give this button, why is it? What am I missing? Sorry guys, sometimes it's hard to see what I'm doing. All right, so the main thing here is that we want to give this submit button, we want to give it some padding so it's around it. We give it a background color the same as we had here. Need to be the border. Makes it solid. Give it the same as that. Give it a nice border radius, 5 pixels. And font size, we'll increase it to all right, so we'll just make this text look good. Give it a border radius as well, 5 pixels. All right, so all this, and what you can do in here, all that stuff we've done before. So you remember that from the buttons, and same with this field. You know everything about padding, width. You know all the border radius. You can also come in here and you can do the font size. Let's bring that. So we want to make it the same height. There we go. So you can control the font size in here. So let's go ahead and save both of these just to show you here. And the main things, these are all stuff that we've already reviewed in terms of doing it in the site previously. But the main thing I want to show you is the stuff that's native to forms. So like the focus pseudo selector here. But what we have is we have input with a type of text. So when we want to style the styling, the CSS selectors, input type text, CSS selectors are a little different. I don't know what's going on with this. With Google for me, for some reason I can't search up there. But do what? Each time I look up there. Like if I search input type text CSS selector, it'll, oh, now it's working. Okay. So it's a little different than what we're used to. So you have we have these square brackets here. So what we want to do is input and then type text. And we want to give it all that CSS. And then we're going to do the same exact thing for our button, for our submit button, but the type is submit. So let's go ahead and grab.
Just explain that attribute selector a little bit, what's going on there.
Yeah, so let me put this in here. So right here, so we have our forms in the top section, and it's an input tag here, and then this is to find basically in CSS, within CSS, to find in HTML a tag, input tag with this attribute. So that's what these brackets are saying here. It's like it's saying, okay, first find an input tag. So we found the input tags, and right now, in our code, we have an input tag of text, and we have an input tag with a type of submit. So it's found those two, and then it goes one level further and says, all right, now within that tag, you have to find an input tag that has an attribute of type with a value of text. Okay? So it's selecting that input tag with the type of text. So for here, we wanted to find the input tag with a type of submit, and then we want to give it this styling. All right. And then we can also take that field set. Remember, all we've done here is just given it a width of 400 pixels, and I keep forgetting to save when I change the margin. All right, so we have that. See this, this blue focus there? One thing you can do in we had the hover before. Remember we had the hover down here before it changes that pseudo selector. With forms, and especially text fields, anytime you click and you're within them, you have the pseudo tag of focused. So we can come in here and you can see, anytime you're in CSS, anytime you're in the inspect element, you can select there by clicking up here. You can select to see what the styling is of it by clicking this. I don't even know what you would call that. It's a dotted line with a cursor on it, but it's toggling the element state. And so we can select focus, and then you can scroll down here and see what styling we have particular. So for this one, it's just an outline with a WebKit focus ring. The colors, the auto, the standard default one with 5 pixels. So you can change that. Let's see, focus, let's say, let me see if I can do this. Let's take this, we'll grab this focus ring here. And we can say color. What am I doing? See why that's not. So we'll give it an outline of 0. So now, is it not overriding it? All right, I'll have to look into that. I don't know why. I'm sorry, I'm going blank right now in terms of that. But you can play with the focus.
If I remember right, you put input and then you select
Say that one more time.
On the, for the CSS, you put input, colon,
Oh.
focus, and then the color.
All right, guys. Yes, to what you said as well. The whole reason it wasn't working, I'm sorry, I can't believe I did that. I was on Fieldset the whole time instead of this. See, I was styling the Fieldset instead of styling the text input. So now when we highlight focus, you'll see it takes the state of when it is focused or not. So we unhighlighted it, but now when we highlight it, that's what it's going to look like when it's focused. So you can change this around. So you can have outline 0, and then you could have border 1 pixel solid red. See how it's changing that? And then exactly what you just said. Now with what you just said, we can highlight this. We can go in here to the top input type text, and we can give it that pseudo selector of focus and give it the CSS we just did. So now if we click on it, you'll see you have that red outline. This is real good for, say, like you have like someone logging into your site when you start building the applications, when you get deeper into the languages of, say, someone like, gave the wrong password or like a username that's already taken. You have like the red that identifies where, like you can say in there that the red, that's where you messed up. In other words, you can give it like a certain class of warning, and then so if they gave the wrong username, then that like whatever they did wrong will light up with that red ring. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like when you fill out a form and all of a sudden you don't put in, when you're applying for a credit card, you don't put in, say, the right state, if there isn't a legitimate state within the United States.
Right.
You put in Switzerland and it will say no reading.
Yeah, so let's take like 10 minutes here just to style our own forms here. And let's put in the form field set. We'll put in 2 input types with a text input type with a submit. And then just go ahead and also put in some type of, you can do this focus pseudo selector as well.
What, when you say the form is a class, or, we're inputting a form, we're putting in a form. A form is considered by web developers to be anything that requires input from the user.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, it's the form tag. You'll see, like, when you get into the, I think you will with the JavaScript too. I'm assuming he'll send some to some servers. He'll talk about, like, forms and their actions and their methods and all that stuff. But yes, so it requires interactivity from the user.
And types of form tags are buttons,
Check boxes, inputs, all that stuff. And but the main takeaway from this is that you can style it just like any other HTML and CSS component element.